Today is July the 4th and it's election day in the UK, so hopefully we'll have a new government tomorrow. Not that any of them are great, but yesterday we had an incident. We went to ASDA supermarket.
We went quite late in the evening because it's less of a sensory onslaught for me and there's less people around.
As we were checking out, we heard 2 or 3 staff members discussing a trans woman. They were doing a Little Britain impression, saying, "Oh, I'm a lady," things like that, and making a lot of derogatory comments about how you could tell he was a man because of the size of his hands.
And then it struck me that they might be talking about Sasha. I looked up to Sasha to see if she'd heard what they were saying, and to me her body language read as being angry but also quite panicked. I loaded up the trolley as quickly as possible, and they kept saying this stuff all the while, it felt like.
And I've snapped a photo of them.
I was in disbelief, really.
I'm not going to be able to sleep until that complaint's made.
I really wanted to say something there and then, but
I gave them a glare at least, so they know I heard. Do you remember the time I told you about when I went to ASDA and there was that card? Like, it was about 10 years ago?
Yeah, not a great track record. When we got home, Sasha went upstairs to type up the details of the incident.
My evening was emailing and causing some volume about the issue, so...
After initial contact was made with ASDA, they told us that we had to discuss it with the store manager. For all we knew, it could have been the store manager who was doing and saying these things, so that was definitely not an option for us. Sasha told them this and ASDA continued to refuse to discuss it. Sasha launched a social media campaign to raise awareness about what had happened.
I think it was great that she stood up for herself, said, "Hey, I'm being wronged and she deserves to be treated like a human being."
I'm Jamie, I run QueerAF. I started QueerAF because an editor told me to stop pitching gay stories because there was no money or audience in them. So just after Pride season in 2024, we got an email from Sasha about an incident that happened at an ASDA store and that she started a complaint process, but that had been largely ignored. We reached out to the ASDA press office and they suddenly reached a conclusion and decided that actually what had happened was really bad. We see this happen quite a lot, like a press release often pushes the dial forward. It's very frustrating, but also really happy that kind of QueerAF and journalists like me can play a role in like pushing these things further.
The responses from ASDA were a little bit of a mixed bag. They would essentially deny what happened without denying it. They would give you corporate drivel about how they foster an inclusive environment and so on.
They gave me a complete non-apology.
I always find these kind of things very frustrating because actually the fix is usually very easy and very simple and requires a bit of a slap on the wrist and some kind of staff training.
Eventually there was a vague apology and a little bit of compensation, but there were a lot of sleepless nights for Sasha. I think it really shook her confidence in terms of her presentation. It's taken her a lot to feel confident doing something like popping out to the shops, particularly wearing maybe comfier clothes, not wearing makeup, that kind of thing. And then to experience something like that, she really went back into her shell. And that's something that's improved slowly but surely over time, but it really shook her up.